everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. 2 weeks ago, the Dreamers picked up 7 experience along with their first trauma of the campaign. Jenny's was physical, Luke's was mental. We spent the experience in our last upgrades video, so now we're on to the last scenario on the dream side, where the gods dwell. First up, let's set the scene for this scenario.
Scenario 4A, where the gods dwell. Check campaign log. If the investigators were carried to the cold wastes, proceed to intro 1. If the investigators travel to the cold wastes, skip to intro 2.
The investigators were carried to the cold wastes, so we want... That was intro 1 that we want.
Intro 1. It takes many hours for your steeds to reach their destination. You dare not try to wriggle free, for the fall would surely kill you. Besides, this may be your only chance to find Kadath. The creatures pass under archways of woven shadow, over cerulean seas that glimmer in the moonlight, and through vast swaths of dense mist. Eventually, you reach a continent far to the north, where even your intrepid captain never ventured. Colossal creatures dwell in the deep, dark ocean, a terrible danger to any ship that dares the dreadful seas. Your steeds fly over a desolate landscape of ice and snow before landing. In the distance, through a haze of snow, you barely make out the shape of a domed building. One of the winged creatures points in the direction of the foreboding ruin, silently commanding you to proceed. The rest stand silently behind you with perfect patience, guarding against your escape, though you have no intention of fleeing. You will find and scale the peaks of unknown Kadath, or you will die trying. Proceed to setup.
Well, I sure as hell hope we don't die trying, but this is the Arkham Horror files, so anything is possible. But let's find out let's refresh our memory on what the tarot reading was next. So on the good side, we left the Hanged Man 12. During setup, each investigator may take up to 2 additional mulligans. And a decision I may regret is on the bad side, we flip the High Priestess 2. So during the first lore test each investigator performs each round, they get -1 lore. That was rather unfortunate there. But we've also got opening hands to go through next. So Luke will be our lead investigator this time. I'm not completely happy with his hand, but I think it's workable-ish. So we're going to start off with probably his first card that he's going to play is Pathfinder to get some mobility. 3 costs to play, agility on commit. Fast action during your turn. If you're not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder to move to a connecting location. We'll go through the flavor text when we actually play that out. Next up, we've got a Rite of Seeking. 4 costs to play, lore on commit. Uses 3 charges. Action, spend a charge to investigate, using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location, but if you pull a bad symbol, immediately after the test resolves, lose all remaining actions and immediately end your turn. Next up, we've got Deduction Level 2, 2 lore on commit. If you're successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location, 2 additional clues instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Next up, Robes of Endless Night. 3 costs to play, agility on commit. When you play a spell card, exhaust Robes of Endless Night to reduce the cost of that spell by 1. 2 health on soak. And finally, Arcane Studies level 4. 2 costs to play, 2 will, 2 lore on commit. Uses 2 resources. Replenish those resources at the start of each round. As an action, spend 1 resource from your resource pool or from Arcane Studies. You get +1 will or +1 lore for the skill test. Milan is something I basically will need to find yesterday with Luke. Jenny's opening hand, however, I'm much happier with. First up for Jenny, we've got a copy of Leo De Luca, the Louisiana Lion. See, I said that without getting my tongue tied. 5 costs to play, lore on commit. You may take an additional action during your turn. 2 and 2 on soak. Next up, we've got Hard Knocks level 2. 0 cost to play, 2 combat, 2 agility on commit. Resource dumps for the same. Next up, we've got a copy of, watch this, Will Combat Agility on Commit. Commit only to a skill test you're performing. As an additional cost to commit, watch this, to a skill test to spend up to 3 resources. If you succeed by 1 or more, gain double that. Next up, Money Talks and BS Walks Level 2. 0 cost to play, wildcard on commit. Fast, play when an investigator at any location initiates a skill test. Instead of the skill type indicated for this test, will, lore, combat, or agility, this is a resource skill test. The performing investigator's base skill value for this test is equal to half the number of resources in your resource pool, rounded down. Draw 1 card. I'd probably be a lot happier about seeing that a little bit later in the scenario, but we got to take it when we can get it. And quick thinking, wildcard on commit. If you're successful, if the skill test is successful by 2 or more, after it resolves, you may immediately take an action as if it were your turn. This action doesn't count toward the number of actions you can take each turn. That's opening hands done. Now let's go through our Act and Agenda decks. Agenda 1A. The Eye of Chaos. I see you there, playing with fate like it is all some sort of game. Did you really think you could escape my grasp? What makes you think you are the one in control? 7 doom to advance, but we effectively have 1 doom toward it already because we have False Awakening in play from the last scenario for these 2. False Awakening begins each game next to the agenda deck with 1 doom on it. As an action, test any skill 2, but the test gets +1 per investigator difficulty, so it's a 4. If you succeed, remove False Awakening from the game. Any investigator may trigger this ability. Okay. Next up, we've got our Act deck as well. Journey through the Cold Wastes. You have come to the land of Leng, a barren, icy wasteland where you believe the peak of unknown Kadath resides. All the while, a presence taunts you, gnawing at your insides. It is a wordless, derisive voice that you cannot hear, but feel within the confines of your mind. 2 per investigator or 4 clues to advance. Alright, that's the Act and Agenda decks done. Last up, Jenny and Luke will move over to the map, so let's join them there. The glare is very much kicking off this middle location. We'll actually go through that when we move into it. But Jenny and Luke are starting off at the Plateau of Leng. So we'll take a look at this. The icy desert plateau of Leng, which no healthy folk visit and whose evil fires are seen at night from afar. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. This flips into Plateau of Leng, Shroud of 3, 2 clues. When an enemy attempts to spawn at an empty location and there are no empty locations in play, spawn that enemy here instead. We'll get the 2 clues out for that. Okay, I think we're all set to get into this scenario now that we've got our starting parameters all set. So we'll go into our first investigation phase, and I think Luke's turn will bring us down to his play area. For Action 1, Luke is going to spend 3 resources to play out the aforementioned Pathfinder. Searchers after horror haunt strange far places. H.P. Lovecraft, The Picture in the House. So we'll put that there. I'll move that onto Luke. Put that off to the side. We'll get an exhaustion token for that. We're not going to use it right away. Action 2, Luke is going to investigate. Will of the High Priestess will kick in. Luke will be down 1. I'm not going to commit anything just yet because I've got something of a plan in mind. A -3 says, yeah, right. Okay, Action 3, we're going to run the investigate back. Luke is at even this time. He's going to commit deduction to go up 2. And then Jenny's going to commit quick thinking to this test. Which means if we're successful by at least... So if we're successful, we get the both clues. If we succeed by 2 or more, Jenny will get to take an action as if it were her turn. So Luke right now is up 3. -3 gets us the clues, but it doesn't get Jenny the extra action. Which I don't entirely mind that. Well, I do mind it, but it's not going to be a big catastrophe. But before we move into Jenny's turn, Luke will exhaust Pathfinder, and Pathfinder will take us over to the map. 2 -3s in a row to start the scenario is not a good sign. But we're going to move down to the location that was impacted by the glare, and that's the Cold Waste. So let's take a look at the Cold Waste. Then came a wide gap in the range, where the hideous reaches of transmontane Leng were joined to the Cold Waste on this side by a low pass through which the stars shone wanly. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. This flips into Shroud of 2 clues. Forced, when you reveal a bad symbol while investigating the Cold Waste, you must either take a damage or lose an action. So we'll get the 2 clues out for that, and that will be it for Luke's turn. We're going to stay right here with Jenny's turn. Her action 1, to the surprise of probably no one, will be playing out the aforementioned Leo De Luca. I was born in Mississippi. Louisiana just sounded better. Mississippi would probably be a lot less likely to get us tongue-tied as well. Then for action 2, Jenny will join Luke in the Cold Waste. Action 3, she'll investigate it even, because remember, Will of the High Priestess kicks in, so Jenny loses a lore from her skill value, so she's at even. Elder Thing. I think this is helpful on this side. 0. The black cat reminds you that it's all a dream. So unfortunately, while we do get the clue from that, we do have to either take a damage or lose an action, and I'm going to take a damage from that. Action 4, we'll run the investigation back. Now Jenny's up 1, since now this is the second lore test she's performed in the round, so Jenny's up 1. Cultist is not good. Reveal another token. If you fail, place a doom on the current agenda. Jenny will have to take another damage. I do not like her taking this much damage this early. But if we can clear this out of clues... Tentacle touched. I was going to say, if we can clear that of clues that quickly, we can, that'll be worth it. But we do have to put another doom up on the current agenda. That's a clue. I need a doom on the current agenda, which brings us up to 2 already. Not a good spot for us to be in. That will do it for Jenny. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, first turn of the game, so there are no enemies in play, which means we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 3. Jenny gains 2 resources. I've been terrible about remembering forced learning all campaign for Luke, so we're actually going to remember it this time. So we have 2 cards to look at for forced learning. First up, Ethereal Slip. 2 cost to play, agility, agility will on commit. Choose a non-elite enemy at a revealed location up to 2 connections away. Swap places with that enemy. Or String of Curses. 1 cost to play, combat, agility on commit. Parlay, choose a non-elite enemy at your location and either choose one. Automatically evade that enemy and place one doom on it. It can't take damage for the remainder of the round. Discover one clue at your location. If that enemy has one or more doom on it, defeat it. Gain one resource for each doom that was on it. Given that we don't have any combat options right now, I think we're going to take String of Curses. Because I want to be able to deal with enemies somehow. Now I realize evasion is not a long-term solution, but for now, it'll help us. It should help us out. Jenny will draw. Intel report, 2 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Discover one clue at your location. When you play Intel report, increase its cost by 2. Change discover one clue to discover 2 clues. When you play Intel report, increase its cost by 2. Change at your location to at a location up to 2 connections away. This could be very helpful, especially if some of these cards are going to do what I think they are. Mythos phase. We're up to 2 doom on the agenda, 3 in play because of False Awakening. Luke will draw. Somnophobia, test Will 5. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror to a maximum of 3. For the purposes of counting icons committed to this skill test, lore, combat, and agility count as matching, and will and wildcard count as 2 matching. So right now we're at even. Right now we're down 1. I'm going to commit Robes of Endless Night to get him to even. And is there anything Jenny's going to commit? Jenny is not going to commit. So Luke is testing at even. Cultist, as we saw earlier, reveal another token. If you fail, place a doom on the current agenda. Still at even. Elder Sign. That's a token I'm much happier to see for obvious reasons, but let's take a look at why. Luke's Elder Sign is +1. Place a charge on Gatebox. So that'll give us a 4th charge on Gatebox and pass Somnophobia, so that's no longer a problem for Luke. Jenny will draw. Liar with No Face, 3/4/3. Prey, most cards in hand, Hunter. Forced. When the Liar with No Face attacks you, if Whispering Chaos is in your hand, reveal it. Liar with No Face deals +2 damage for the attack, but 2 sanity on attack. Gross. Okay, that's actually a pretty big problem right now. We're back into the investigation phase, and Jenny needs to try to shake this guy loose, so let's move down to our play area and see what we can do about that. I would rather not have to use String of Curses on this guy because I know, well, this is me starting to get into metagaming a little bit because I know when the agenda advances there's going to be an enemy coming out that I'm probably going to want that String of Curses for. But again, that's me thinking a little bit ahead. Action 1, we're going to try to evade it even, and I'm going to commit... Watch this, to go up 1, and I'm going to spend 2 resources into it. So if I pass this by at least 1, I'm going to get 4 resources back. Is there anything Luke wants to commit to an agility test? There is not, so we're going to have to test up 1. Skull is -X, where X is the number of the current act. Right now it's 1. So Jenny will pass the test. She will evade the Liar with No Face, but she won't get resources back from Watch This because we succeeded on a tie. So that's unfortunate there. Action 2, she'll investigate again at even. Tentacle touched again. Taking another damage. Action 3, investigating up 1. +1 gets us the last clue. So we're all clear there, and I think there's no restriction on advancing the act, so we're going to spend the 4 clues now so we can advance the act. The monastery. Traversing the wastes of Leng is no easy task. The cold bites at your skin, and the bitter winds lash against your face. Even if you encounter no nameless monsters, the land itself may still yet claim your life. You try desperately to stay warm, but there is no refuge in the icy desolation. Exhausted, you collapse into a nearby snowdrift. To your surprise, you feel hard stone thrust into your ribcage. The pain shocks you out of your enervation, and you brush aside the snow to examine what it hides. Eventually, you uncover a curious stone idol in the shape of a horned creature, which glows and vibrates with faint energy. In the distance, you hear a stone slab shifting in the snow. Reveal a monastery of Leng. Spawn the set-aside high priest not to be described enemy in the monastery of Leng. So first up, let's take a look at the monastery of Leng. The door to the monastery of Leng is sealed shut. You cannot enter the monastery of Leng. When you finally reach the domed temple in the snow, you are distraught to find its doors sealed shut, with no lock to speak of. Perhaps there's another way inside. There is. We just found it. This flips into Monastery of Leng, Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Fast action. Investigators at Monastery of Leng spend 1 per investigator or 2 clues as a group. Remember that the investigators maneuvered the priest closer. A great domed space whose walls were carved in shocking bas-reliefs, and whose center held a gaping circular pit surrounded by 6 malignly stained stone altars in a ring. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. We'll get the 4 clues out for that. Okay, and what else was there? Oh, the set-aside high priest not to be described. Here we are. Okay. High priest not to be described, agent of the outer gods. 5, 3 per investigator, 3. Alert, massive, retaliate. This enemy cannot make attacks of opportunity. Fast action, if this enemy is exhausted, spend 1 per investigator clues. Remember that you stunned the priest. Until the end of the scenario, this enemy gets -3 fight. You shudder to think just what this abhorrent priest might be beneath its robes. Victory 2, 1 and 1. Okay, nothing double-sided there. So he goes to the Monastery of Leng. All right, we'll take a look at Act 2A. The Thing in the Robes. Inside the domed structure is a raised dais. Upon it sits a lumpish figure robed in yellow silk, a mask covering its face. My master has plans for you, it drawls. Now, step forward and receive my gift. You shake your head. You have seen this sort of disguise before. You know what sort of creature this priest truly is. Action, if an investigator maneuvered the priest closer and an investigator stunned the priest, defeat the high priest not to be described. Objective, if the high priest not to be described is defeated, advance. Okay. Now, what are we going to do with Action 4 for Jenny? I think Action 4 is going to be to take a resource, because I've got plans coming up. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Luke's turn will take us... Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. I forgot. Jenny's still there with the liar with no face, but she's probably going to have to play patty cake with that idiot for a couple turns. So yeah, I think we're going to take the resource. Luke's turn will take us over to... Luke's turn is going to take us over to his play area. You're probably going to start hearing train noises in the background. Nothing I can do about that. I wanted a little bit of fresh air coming in today. It's actually a pretty nice day out, even if it's dreary out. Action 1, Luke is going to take a resource. Action 2, he's going to draw a card, so Luke will draw. Shortcut, fast play only during your turn. Choose an investigator at your location, move that investigator to a connecting location. Action 3, we're actually going to play out, for 4 resources, we're going to play Rite of Seeking. We saw this earlier in Luke's opening hand. We'll get the 3 charges for that. We're not going to do any kind of quick moves. I especially don't want to land Luke in the Monastery of Leng with the High Priest not to be described in there. So that will do it for Luke. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the High Priest not to be described stays put, and the Liar with no face is exhausted. So we'll wake everything up. Before we wake the Liar with no face, 3 and 3. So we can send him after either one, and I think I'm going to send him after... I'm going to send him over to Jenny. Because I think Jenny has a better chance of evading him. I can use the String of Curses if I think I need to, but I'd rather not use that. I'd rather save that for the High Priest not to be described. But let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke will gain 1 resource, Jenny will gain 2 and go to 3, Luke will have 2 cards to look at from Forced Learning. First up we'll find Clairvoyance, 4 cost to play, lore on commit. Uses 3 charges. Spend a charge as an action to investigate using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at the location, but if you pull a good symbol, take 1 horror. Or Voice of Ra, 0 cost to play. Gain a resource, reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag. For each bad symbol you reveal, gain additional 2 resources. As much as I would love to be able to take Clairvoyance, I think I have to take Voice of Ra because I'm very low on resources. So it's a pain to let Clairvoyance go. Jenny will draw. Stunning Blow. Combat on commit. If the skill test is successful during an attack, automatically evade the attacked enemy. We'll go through the flavor text when we actually play it as eventful, as plentiful as it is. Mythos phase, 4th Doom in play, 3rd on the agenda, but we have 4 in play thanks to False Awakening. Luke will draw. Wizard of the Order, spawn any empty location. Retaliate. Forced at the end of the Mythos phase, place a Doom on Wizard of the Order. Where do I want him? I don't want him somewhere... And there are no empty locations in play. I think we'll spawn him at the Plateau of Leng. We might have to go back and deal with him, though. Jenny will draw. Dreamer's Curse. Uh-oh. Revelation test will 5. For each point you fail by, take a damage to a maximum of 3. For the purposes of counting icons committed to this skill test, combat, agility, and lore count as matching, and will and wildcard count as 2 matching. Right now, Jenny is down 2. Well, I could commit Hard Knocks to get up 2. And I think I have to. So I'm going to commit Hard Knocks for 4 matching icons to go up 2. Is there anything Luke can give her, or is up 2 where I'm going to have to test? I think up 2 is where I'm going to have to test. So Jenny is up 2. -2 is just barely enough. So Jenny clears that test, even with the scare on that. Okay, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next, and I think Luke's turn is going to take us over to his play area to start. I lied, and the reason I lied is because Pathfinder is actually going to take us over to the map, since we do have an open player window. And the High Priest, not to be described, can't make attacks of opportunity, which is fortunate for us. So, for action 1, I think Luke's going to investigate... actually, Luke is going to play Voice of Ra to give him a resource, and then we're going to pull 3 random tokens from the bag. For each bad symbol, we gain 2 more. So that brings him up to 2. One, two, 3. All right, let's see what we pull here. 1 symbol, so we get 2 more resources, which brings Luke up to 4. Action 2. He's exhausted. We're going to... What do I want to do here? Do I want to try to get some clues? The only thing I don't like about that is if Rite of Seeking goes off, that ends Luke's turn on the spot. So I'm not in... I do get a clue if I'm able to evade that, though. Yeah, I think we're going to spend the... I think as action 2, we are going to spend... Wait, is this action 1 or action... No, this is action 2 coming up because we Voice of Rod for action 1. So for action 2, we are going to use String of Curses here. It's going to put a doom up on the High Priest not to be described, but I think it's worth the risk at this point. It'll get us a clue off the location as well. So that'll evade the High Priest not to be described and put a doom on him. And then action 3, we're going to use Rite of Seeking. Investigate using Will, so we're up 1. And that's where he's going to... No, we're actually going to use an Arcane Studies to put him up 3. Because I know there's a -3 in the bag. How do I know there's a -3 in the bag? We saw it twice in a row on the first 2 investigations. That's a -1 though, so that gets us both clues. That gets us 2 clues off the location, which I'll immediately spend so that we stun the High Priest, which means we'll make a note here. So I forgot to start my editing notes. Alright, so we're all clear there. That will do it for Luke. Jenny, for action 1, she's going to try to evade the liar with no face. Unfortunately, she's at E. Actually, let's try to attack it, actually, because I can commit a stunning blow to go up 1 for the same result. And hopefully we get the flavor text out of that. Thud. That would be very welcome right now. Jenny is up 1 with a stunning blow. No, we actually fail that? Yes, we do fail that. That's unfortunate. So now Jenny's going to try to evade the liar with no face at even. A 0 gets us to the same place. I was hoping to be an action ahead right now. Action 3, she'll move over to the Monastery of Ling and join Luke. Action 4, she'll investigate. Unfortunately, down 1, hoping for a... actually, I've got a better idea. Maneuver the priest closer and stun the high priest. Stun the priest, defeat the high priest. Do we discover the clue there? Unfortunately, Jenny would have to be there. And I think, what to do. I think a better idea for Jenny is we're actually going to move her down to the Onyx Gates. I've got to, if this is where I think we're going to have an impact from earlier in the campaign, then I think I want Jenny here. I can trust Luke probably to get this last clue off of the Monastery of Ling, but let's take a look at the Onyx Gates. Where they dwelt, there must be the cold waste lie... Oh, we forgot to put a doom up for the Wizard of the Order at the end of the Mythos phase. Where they dwelt, there must the cold waste lie close, and within it unknown Kadath and its onyx castle for the Great Ones. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Shroud of 1, 12 clues. Onyx Gates gets +1 shroud. Forced, after Onyx Gates is revealed, check the campaign log. Remove 1 clue from Onyx Gates for each tally mark next to evidence of Kadath. As you approach the gates, you notice an inscription in the onyx stone. Do not seek the lands beyond, for they do not exist. These gates shall never open, for there is nothing beyond. This is actually where our performance in the second scenario, back when we were searching for Kadath, comes into play. We had 7 tally marks next to evidence of Kadath, so there are 5 clues on the location, and I think I planned that out as well as I could have. So now Jenny is all set with intel report to hopefully start pulling clues off of that location. But that will do it for Jenny. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, both of our enemies are exhausted. So the High Priest, not to be described, wakes up, as will the Liar with no face. We'll unexhaust everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Jenny will gain 2 and go to 5. Luke has 2 cards to look at from Forced Learning, so first up he'll find Robes of Endless Night. We used this earlier on a commit, and another shortcut. I think we're going to take the shortcut here. Jenny will draw another intel report. That could actually be very helpful for us. Mythos phase, we're at 6 doom. We're at 5, actually 5 doom plus 2 in play is 7. So we are advancing the agenda. Take a look here. The Mire of Dreams. Do not try to run now. You are mine. You will never, ever, ever wake up. If it's Act 4, it's not. So we don't worry about that. Agenda 2A. The Shape of Chaos. Why do you fight? Why do you flee? I am your future. I am your fate. Another mask for my collection. Another corpse for me to wear. 5 doom to advance that one. Luke will draw Restless Journey Lies. Peril Hidden. Revelation. Secretly add this card to your hand. You cannot commit more than 1 card to skill tests each round. Fast action. Discard Restless Journey and test Agility 3. If you fail, place 1 doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Fun. Jenny will draw Acolyte. Spawn at any empty location. Forced. After Acolyte enters play, place a doom on it. And we can spawn it at the Onyx Castle. So it gets a doom on it, as does the Wizard of the Order at the end of the Mythos phase. Fun times. Speaking of the Onyx Castle, let's take a look at that location because it is relevant now that Jenny's at the Onyx Gates. The way to the Onyx Castle is hidden. You can't enter the Onyx Castle. No man had ever found Kadath in the past, and it might just as well be if none ever found it in the future. Such rumors as were told about that Onyx Castle of the Great Ones were not by any means reassuring. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. I think this round is probably where we need to... This round we need to do a lot, to be perfectly honest. So, into the investigation phase, our first investigator will be Luke, and we're going to move over to the map. I don't like risking Luke's turn on his first action, but I don't think I have a choice in the matter. Luke is going to use a charge of Right of Seeking to investigate at the Monastery of Leng, mostly because I need to make that into a will test because I need the clue off of there way too much. I'm going to commit a shortcut to go up 2, because remember, thanks to Restless Journey Lies, I can only commit 1 card. So the best I can get Luke right now is up 2. Rune, I don't think should be in the bag right now, should it? Hang on, something's not right. I don't completely trust that there wasn't supposed to be a rune in the bag for the dream side. Unless it starts with 1? It starts with 2, so yeah, we've got big problems right now. So there are 2 runes in the bag, which is a huge problem for us right now because the rune is a -4. If you fail, choose and reveal a copy of Nyarlathotep in your hand. It attacks you and is shuffled in the encounter deck. We do fail, but there are no copies of Nyarlathotep out. But our bigger problem right now is that we lose all of Luke's actions and immediately end his turn. That was catastrophic. And that's why I didn't like the idea of risking his turn on... That's why I didn't like the idea of risking his turn on that one action. So unfortunately that will do it for Luke. Jenny, I think, will stay right here. That Halyra with no face is going to be looking for her most likely. Actually, if I get her hand size down a little bit, I can choose. Or I can make sure it goes after Luke outright, since Luke's got the Nope Out button. So, yeah. I think we're going to action 1. Jenny's going to investigate. She's up 1 because of the High Priestess 2. Actually, she's even right now. I forgot about the +2 Shroud. Skull is -1, where X is the current act, which right now is 2, so we do fail that. Action 2, we'll run it back. Now we're even. Jenny was down 1 on the first test. So now we're even. Skull again, which is unfortunate. Action 3, we need to do what? I can discover a clue from 2 connections away, but I would need to get Jenny back there. So I guess the question now is, do I pull the last clue off of there? No, I think I can have Luke get there. I think I can have Luke get that clue, and then I should be able to get him out of there a lot more easily. So I think for now, I'm going to use both of my... I think for action 2, I'm going to ultimately end up spending 4 resources on this. Because I'm going to play... Actually, shoot, this would cost 4 for both of them. Or 4 per. So I'm going to use 1 intel report to discover 2 clues at the Onyx gates. And then for action 4... I'm just going to take a resource. Mostly so I can keep the number of cards in hand even, since Luke's got the nope out, the much easier nope out option. So that'll do it for Jenny, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the liar with no face can go to either of us because we've both got 2 cards in hand. I'm going to send him to Luke, which will ultimately end up with him taking 1 damage and 3 sanity. Owie. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to use as much higher sanity as a shield here. So the liar with no face is engaged to Luke. And we'll reset everything. And then we will move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 5. Jenny gains 2 and goes to 4. 2 cards from Forced Learning for Luke. First up, he will find True Understanding, or... Well, actually, this could be very useful right now. Commit only to a skill test from an ability printed on a scenario card. If the skill test is successful, discover 1 clue at your location. Wild card on commit. Or... Azure Flame. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. Action, spend a charge to fight using will instead of combat and deal +1 damage. But if you reveal a good symbol, take a damage, and yes, I think I want the True Understanding right now. Jenny will draw a Beretta M1918. 4 cost to play, 2 combat, and agility on commit. Uses 4 ammo. As an action, exhaust the Beretta M1918 and spend 1 ammo to fight. You get +4 combat and deal +1 damage for the attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, either ready the Beretta or this attack deals an additional +1 damage. If you succeed by 4, do both. Mythos phase, we have our first Doom on the agenda, but we have 3 in play thanks to the Wizard of the Order and the Acolyte. Luke will draw Restless Journey Fallacy. Peril Hidden. Secretly add this card to your hand. You can't commit more than 1 card to skill test each round. Oh, great. As a fast action, discard Restless Journey and test Lore 3. If you fail, place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Oh, delightful. Jenny draws Deeper Slumber. Revelation, put Deeper Slumber into play in your threat area. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 3 and is checked after each time you draw 1 or more cards. 2 actions to discard it. Delightful. Okay, coming out of the Mythos phase, I believe I have a fast action window, right? Yes, I have a fast action window after Jenny draws her card. So Luke is going to discard Restless Journey's Fallacy, which will trigger a lore test, bringing him down 1, and I'm going to commit True Understanding to get to even. Mostly so I can try to get that last clue off Monastery of Leng. So let's see what happens here. -2 says not happening. Great. We do put a Doom up on the agenda, so we're up to 4 now. Which means we put another Doom on Wizard of the Order, which will bring us up to 5, and we will be advancing next round. We are going through this way too fast. And we've got big problems on our hands. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, ugh. We're in a very bad way right now. And unfortunately, I think Luke's turn is going to take us over to his play area. I'm wondering if we just make this a mercy killing at this point. So as a fast action before Luke's turn starts, I'm going to discard Restless Journey so I can test Agility 3. Unfortunately, I'm at even, and I've already used my commit for the round. So, of course, the rune says no way, which means we put another Doom up, and that can cause the agenda to advance. Great. The last dream. Yes. Read on, my puppet. This will be your last dream. Your final reprieve. Then I shall take the rest for myself. Oh, delightful, and it's not even Act 4 yet. Agenda 3A. Chaos incarnate. Ha! Ashanta Nya. I am true chaos. Look not upon my shape, for it is ever-changing. I commanded you to keep reading. Look not upon my face, for it is no face at all. I told you to stop running. Listen not, for the truth is a lie. For the truth is a lie. I warned you not to dream. Mine and mine alone. Nobody else can have it. I dared you not to fight. Run then, rabbit, run. There is nothing more. I cherish the chase. Nothing, nothing. 5 Doom to advance. Fantastic. As if we didn't have enough problems on our hands. Flipping the High Priestess was probably the worst decision. I probably should have bitten the bullet and just flipped the Hangman 12 to not have weaknesses, but I thought I could compensate for that with the ability to sculpt the hand I would need for this scenario. Obviously, what I drew for it was not it. Action 1, I'm going to try to evade the liar with no face, but I have to do it at even. Which a -2 is not. Action 2, got to try it again because I need to get that clue off the location, but I can't take a million attacks of opportunity from the liar with no face. I may need Jenny's help on this one. -1 says no. Action 3, I think we got to run it back, and then I'm probably going to have to send Jenny in there to help Luke out with this. We've got a huge problem on our hands. Wow. Obviously, it's not my day-to-day with these token pulls. That'll do it for Luke. Jenny's turn is going to take us over to the map. I don't think even Lola and Harvey went this sideways when I did Dream Eaters all those years ago. Anyway, Action 1 for Jenny, she's going to move up to the Cold Wastes. Action 2, she's going to move into the Monastery of Leng. Action 3, she's going to spend 2 for an intel report to discover 1 clue at her location because we only need 1. Then as a fast action, we're going to trigger the ability on the Monastery of Leng to maneuver the priest closer. Just to pretend that this is going to be interesting, but our campaign is probably going to die down here. Then action 4, we're going to use the action on the act, to defeat the High Priest not to be described. So he'll go to the victory display, and we will advance that. If you defeated the High Priest with not to be described using the ability on Act 2A, read the following. Despite your fear, or perhaps as a result, you discover a means to escape the creature's grasp. With the creature distracted, you shove with all of your might, and it topples into the gaping well in the center of the room, letting out a hideous screech in its wake. No matter how it was defeated, also read the following. With the monster dispatched, you can explore the monastery in relative peace. Along the ruined walls of the stone building, tapestries depict the history of this land, a history of blood and suffering that you have no desire to remember when this is all said and done. Great snow-capped peaks loom over each of these scenes, and in just one of them, a castle is woven in black thread. Okay, looking at Act 3A, Beyond Dreams. You believe that Kadath is the highest peak far to the north, but in order to open the gates leading to that forsaken land, you must prove that it exists. Objective: if each investigator is at the Onyx gates and no clues are on it, advance. That's why I was trying to save Jenny's intel report for the Onyx gates if I could, but I couldn't get away with that one. Unfortunately, that will do it for Jenny. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Luke takes another 2 sanity from the liar with no face. Fun times. So we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 6. Jenny gains 2 and goes to 4. 2 cards from Forced Learning for Luke. First up we find Shriveling, Where Have You Been all scenario. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. Action, spend a charge to fight using will instead of combat and deal +1 damage. But if you pull a bad symbol during the attack, take a horror. And Read the Signs level 2. This would have been useful probably about half an hour ago. Will, lore, wildcard on commit. Investigate plus will to your skill value for the investigation. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during the investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. If a symbol was revealed during this investigation, return Read the Signs to your hand at the end of your turn. I think we got to take Read the Signs here and figure on trying to get away from the liar with no face. Jenny will draw. Jenny's Twin 45s, a perfect fit. Also would have been welcome much earlier in the scenario. X cost to play, 2 agility, wildcard on commit. Jenny Barnes deck only. Uses X ammo. Action, spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 combat for the attack and deal +1 damage. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 1. Our first Doom on the last agenda. Luke will draw. Another liar with no face. Good thing Luke's got his nope out button ready once Jenny gets out of there. Speaking of which, Jenny will draw. Abandoned by the Gods. Peril. Revelation test will 3. For each point you fail by, you must choose a different number between 0 and 4. Each player must discard each event and asset from their hand with a printed resource cost equal to any of the chosen numbers. Alright, Jenny is even on that test. And that's where she's going to test. Rune is -4, which resets to 0, so we have to choose. So we fail by 3, which means we have to choose 3 different numbers. So we're going to choose 0, 1, and 3, I guess. Mostly, I shouldn't factor in what I know is in Luke's hand, but I'm going to. Which will cost Jenny money talks. Each event and asset. It'll cost Luke a shortcut. But I'm trying desperately to protect Read the Signs in Luke's hand, because that's our only chance of making anything resembling progress on this scenario right now. At the end of the Mythos phase, we get a Doom on the Wizard of the Order. We've been flying through this scenario, and it's not been going well at all. So we're at 2 Doom in play right now. Heading into the investigation phase, Jenny's turn is going to take us over to the map. Action 1 for Jenny, she's going to move over to the Cold Wastes. Action 2, she's going to move down to the Onyx Gates. Action 3, she's going to investigate. Unfortunately, she's down 1 and hoping for a pull. Rune is not a pull. Action 4, run the investigate back. She's at even. I'm going to commit the Jenny's 45s to go up 1. Skull is not a good pull either, Jennifer. So we fail that. As a fast action, though, Luke is going to exhaust his gate box to go up to Dreamgate Wondrous Journey. Somehow we haven't used this all scenario yet, so we'll take our first look at Dreamgate Wondrous Journey. Gate box. Shroud of 1, no clues. Dreamgate is connected to each other revealed location and vice versa. Enemies and investigators other than Luke can't enter Dreamgate. Forced at the end of the investigation phase, set Dreamgate aside out of play. If Luke is here, move him to any revealed location. Action 1, he's going to use his special ability from a connected location, paying 2 resources to read the signs, and he's going to target the Onyx Gates with that. So he's at a 6 to a 3. He's up 3, and if we pull a symbol, we get it back at the end of the turn. Jenny can't commit, so Luke is up 3. Yes, that was a rune. And yes, I also just broke the coin capsule because I was just, you could probably tell I was just so mad that that came out. Let me see if I can find a new coin capsule. I know I had some spares in here. The only consolation is I'll get read the signs back at the end of the turn, but that is a -4. We have not been having a good day of token pulls, as you can probably tell. Having the High Priestess 2 on the bad side was probably a terrible idea. But I thought having the balance of the Hangman 12, being able to craft a hand to get around that, would be a little bit more beneficial. Obviously, again, it was not. Fast action. Luke is going to exhaust Pathfinder to move down to the Onyx Gates. Action 2 now, which will leave both of the enemies, both of the liars with no face behind at the Monastery of Leng. Action 2, Luke's going to use his last charge of Rite of Seeking. To investigate, he's up 1 on Will. And unfortunately, he's got nothing to commit, and neither does Jenny. Cultist. Good thing this is Luke's third action when that came out. -3. I wish I could even pretend to act surprised at this point. You guys would tell me I'm doing a terrible job at acting surprised on a pull like that. So, that's it for Luke's turn at the end of the investigation phase. Read the signs does come back to Luke's hand. That's basically nothing at this point, honestly. Dreamgate Wondrous Journey comes out of play. Enemy phase, the liars with no face move over to the Cold Wastes. Then we'll reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 5. Jenny gains 2 and goes to 6. 2 cards from Forced Learning for Luke. First up, Storm of Spirits. 3 cost to play, combat, will on commit. Fight using will instead of combat. If you succeed, instead of its standard damage, the attack deals +2 damage, or deals 2 damage to each enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. But if you pull a bad symbol during the attack, deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location. Or Drawn to the Flame. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. This actually might be a pretty tough decision, but I think we want Drawn to the Flame here because we need clues desperately, but we are very much running out of Doom. Jenny, well, I'm borrowing a line from RJL on that, where a team is running out of outs. I'm running out of Doom at the moment. Jenny will draw. You handle this one. 0 cost to play, lore, agility on commit. Fast, play after you draw a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects. Choose another investigator. That investigator is considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. Gain 1 resource. Mythos phase, second Doom on the agenda, but it's actually the third in play because of the Wizard of the Order. Luke will draw. Abandoned by the Gods. Oh, delightful. Jenny had this earlier. Unlike Jenny, though, Luke is up 1. And I think he's going to is he going to commit Read the Signs to go up 3? Yes. After the way that last test went, he is going to commit Read the Signs to go up 3. Tentacle touched. So I think I'm going to choose 2, 3, and 4. I want to protect the Drawn to the Flame in Luke's hand, which is going to cost Jenny the Beretta. Jenny will draw. Liar with no face. Another Doom on the Wizard of the Order. Oh, wonderful. This went completely sideways on us. We're into the investigation phase, and we're going to start Luke's turn at his play area. Action 1, we're going to start off with our Drawn to the Flame. I almost hope I draw a law at this point, which gives me a Doom can advance the current agenda, because at this point, I just want this scenario to be over, to be perfectly honest. Luke will draw from the encounter deck. Dole of the Waste. Spawn Cold Wastes or the Great Hall. Prey lowest agility, so it's looking for either of us. 6/6/2. Prey lowest agility, Hunter, victory 1. That'll go to the Cold Wastes. Luke will get the 2 clues off of the location. Action 2, Luke will investigate the Onyx Gates. He is down. Yeah, he's down 1. I'm hoping for a pull. A 0 would have been a great pull, but not for the fact that we're down 1. Action 3, running it back at even this time. -2. The bag is not cooperating with us today. Anyway, that's it for Luke, and that's about to be it for the scenario, quite frankly. It'd help if I flip Luke over. Although Jenny's turn really is just not even particularly relevant at this point, to be honest. Anyway, let's move over to Jenny's play area and see what she can do with this Liar with no face. Action 1, Jenny's going to try to evade the Liar with no face. Of course not. Action 2. Run it back. A 0 will actually evade the liar with no face. Although we've got 2 more and Dole of the Wastes coming. Action 3 will try to investigate down 1, hoping to God for a pull. But a pull isn't even particularly relevant at this point. A 0 is not the pull that we wanted. Action 4, we'll try to investigate. Hopefully the act can move us, but it's, again, not likely to matter. That's the last clue off of it, but it's not likely to be relevant. We are at the Onyx Gates, and there are no clues on it. Where the gods dwell, each investigator loses all of their clues. Read Scenario Interlude, Grand Design in the campaign guide. Then advance Act 4A, Truth and Lies. Alright, so let me cue that up on my phone. I'm pretty sure I've got that recorded there. Should be right here.
Scenario Interlude,
Here we go.
Grand Design. Read this interlude only when you are instructed to do so. Grand Design 1. Higher and higher, you scale the mountains far to the north. Pale light shines from atop a great black peak piercing the vibrant firmament, and you know that you approach the end of your quest. You spend untold hours ascending the snow-covered slopes until finally you reach the forbidden steps leading to the castle's Great Hall. The castle stands astride a precipice that overlooks the entire continent and the ocean beyond. It is a majestic sight. Above, countless tenebrous towers loom, swathed in a vortex of snow and hail. You break a trail through the crusted snow before the castle, and it soon gives way to smooth, polished onyx. The biting wind quiets to a whistle. You are bathed in a prodigious darkness that fills the vast space. Soon there is nothing but the echoing of your footsteps on the onyx floor and the quiet, lonely stillness of the Great Hall. Though you have crossed no doorway, you realize now where you stand, inside the halls of the Great Ones. You expected to be met by guards, servants of the gods, or perhaps even those powerful beings themselves, but you're met only by loneliness and foreboding as chilling and piercing as the winds outside. You continue forward until at last you reach the end of the hall. Here, flanked by smooth onyx pillars, you find nothing. There are no gods here. The place is long abandoned. Virgil is agape. I don't understand. Reveal the Onyx Castle and place each investigator in the Great Hall on its revealed side. Remove each location other than the Great Hall from the game. Check campaign log. If Randolph survived the voyage, proceed to Grand Design 2. If Randolph did not survive the voyage, skip to Grand Design 3.
Okay, so revealing the Onyx Castle and placing each investigator in the Great Hall on its revealed side. So let's take a look at this. The way to the Onyx Castle is hidden. You cannot enter the Onyx Castle. No man had ever found Kadath in the past, and it might just as well be if none ever found it in the future. Such rumors, actually I think we looked at this earlier, but the Great Hall, Shroud of 3, no clues. Action, choose another investigator at your location. Add a hidden card in your hand to the chosen investigator's hand. Say for that one tower room, the Onyx Castle atop Kadath was dark, and the Masters were not there. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. So we place each investigator in the Great Hall on its revealed side, okay? Which means the Acolyte will have to go to somebody. I'll give it to Jenny, because she might have an easier time dealing with that. Then remove each other location other than that from the game. So presumably, everything would be discarded. Everything there would be discarded. Which means we do lose the 2 Doom from the Wizard of the Order, so that's... Honestly, that's basically nothing at this point, because we're still at 3 Doom, and there are plenty of ways for this. We're actually going to be at 3 Doom coming into the next Mythos phase, and there's still potential for everything to go completely sideways on us very quickly. Anyway, right, remove each other location from the Great Hall. Okay, Randolph did not survive the voyage, so we go to Grand Design 3.
Grand Design 3. Just then, a voice behind you breaks the silence, penetrating your confusion. Virgil Gray, you have come to see the Great Ones, upon whom it is unlawful for mortals to look. The voice belongs to a tall, thin figure bedecked in the ornate prismatic robes of an ancient pharaoh, crowned with a golden shent that glows faintly in the darkness. What is it you expected to find? Are you one of the gods who dwells in this castle? Virgil asks, approaching the being. Why is this place so dark and lonely? The regal figure permits an unhappy expression to flicker briefly over its countenance. The gods you seek have fled their castle on unknown Kadath to dwell in another land, a land so marvelous they have forgotten how to be gods. Will you help me right this wrong? The figure asks. Before Virgil can reply, it pulls its arm back and drives a razor-sharp blade of onyx through Virgil's chest. His corpse slides to the polished floor, his eyes forever frozen in tragic shock. The figure turns toward you, its shadow shifting into myriad shapes as it stretches across the ground. No, its many voices growl. It is not enough. Check campaign log. If the Black Cat is at your side, proceed to Grand Design 4. Otherwise, skip to Grand Design 5. Grand Design 4. All the while, the Black Cat stays perched on your shoulder, watching with cold, narrow eyes. It is as if it has read the script many times before, but only now seen the actors play their parts. I'm sorry, Virgil, it says. Only it isn't. Proceed to Grand Design 5. Grand Design 5. The crawling chaos splits into 100,000 shadows and vanishes into the cold, dank air. Randomly choose 1 + 1 per investigator copies of the set-aside Nyarlathotep enemy without looking at them, and shuffle them into the encounter deck. Remove each other copy of Nyarlathotep from the game. Shuffle the set-aside Crawling Mist and each set-aside copy of Myriad Forms and Whispering Chaos into the encounter deck, along with the encounter discard pile. Shuffle the set-aside Forsaken Tower locations, and choose 4 at random to put into play. These locations should surround the Great Hall, one in each of the 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Until the end of the scenario, each Forsaken Tower is referred to by its position relative to the Great Hall as follows. The location above the Great Hall is called the Northern Tower. The location to the right of the Great Hall is called the Eastern Tower. The location below the Great Hall is called the Southern Tower. The location to the left of the Great Hall is called the Western Tower.
Alright.
Scenario 4.
Zip it. We'll need that intro that we were starting into tomorrow, and I've been doing all of the setup stuff off camera as the interlude's been playing. So I'm busy shuffling the encounter deck right now. Suddenly we have 3 turns to do all of this, but we're going to look at the agenda here momentarily. We'll look at the new, actually it's the new act momentarily. Okay, so that's all set. So the encounter deck is ready to go. Now we need to shuffle up the Forsaken Towers. North, south, east, and before we place west, we'll take a look at the unrevealed side of one of these, because these will all be the same. Vast walls shot up, and there was a glimpse of a great gate through which the voyagers were swept. All was night in the Titan courtyard, and then came the deeper blackness of inmost things as a huge arched portal engulfed the column. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Okay. Alright, so we don't need to go through the map, but we will go through our new agenda. Agenda 4A. Truth and lies. Beware, for I am the one who has trapped you here, and you shall never leave. Your dreams are forever mine. As an action, spend 1 clue. Look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Draw each of those cards with a hidden keyword and discard the rest. Objective: find and expose Nyarlathotep's true form by adding copies of Nyarlathotep to the victory display. If 1 + 1 per investigator, so 3 copies are in the victory display, advance. The way the scenario is going, that is not very likely. But that is it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Jenny takes 1 damage from the Acolyte. We'll flip everything over. That Drawn to the Flame would have been a godsend in here, but let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 6. Jenny will gain 2 and go to 8. 2 cards from Luke. 2 cards for Luke from Forced Learning. First up, we find Open Gate, Will, Agility on commit, 1 cost to play. Myriad Fast, play only during your turn. Attach to your location, group limit 3 and play. Investigators may move between any 2 locations with an attached Open Gate as if the locations were connected. Or 4 of Cups, Chalice of the Heart. 3 cost to play, no commit. You get +1 will. When the game begins, if 4 of Cups is in your opening hand, put it into play. That would have been a lot handier earlier in the game, so we'll take Open Gate. Jenny will draw. 21 or bust. 2 cost to play, agility, combat on commit. 1 at a time, reveal random tokens from the Chaos Bag until you choose to stop. Treat each bad symbol except the tentacle as a 5. The tentacle is a 10, and the Elder Sign is either a 1 or 11. If the combined total of those tokens, ignoring plus or minus, is 18 or less, gain 4. 19, gain 5. 20, gain 6. 21, gain 9. Jenny, we do not have time to play blackjack. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3. Luke will draw. Whispers of Hypnos, Peril. Revelation, choose a skill. Will, Lore, Combat, or Agility. For the remainder of the round, each investigator gets -2 to the chosen skill. You can't choose a skill that has already been chosen by a copy of this effect this round. No god or daemon could have aspired to discoveries and conquest like those which were planned in Whispers. H.P. Lovecraft, Hypnos. I think we're going to imperil Agility on that one. Jenny's probably going to try to fight the... Jenny's probably going to try to... Does he try to evade the Acolyte or fight it? I think... I think she's going to try to fight it. So we are going to imperil Agility. And then Jenny will draw. Somnophobia. Revelation, test Will 5. For each point you... This is basically the same thing as Dreamer's Curse earlier, but for horror. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror to a max of 3. For the purposes of counting icons committed to this test, Lore, Combat, and Agility count as matching, and Will and Wildcard count as 2 matching. Right now, Jenny's down 2. And she will actually... Can I even afford to give that to Luke right now? I really don't. So I think I'm going to commit. You handle this one. I'm not going to play it. That'll get Jenny up to even. Luke will not commit. So Jenny's at even. A 0 means Jenny's clear of it. So that's very fortunate. Right. We still have a huge problem on our hands, though. And I think we're going to start off by, in the investigation phase, moving down to Jenny, and we're going to move into her play area. Action 1, Jenny's going to engage in some very important fisticuffs with the Acolyte, committing 21 or bust to go up 1. Because as I mentioned, we do not have anything that resembles time to play blackjack. Skull is -3. Actually, it's -4 right now, so we do fail that. Action 2, we're going to punch it again at even. Elder thing, as we saw earlier, is 0. The black cat reminds you it's all a dream. So the Acolyte is defeated. Action 3 will take us over to the map. It doesn't really matter where we send Jenny at this point. We're going to send her to the Western Tower because why not? Mostly we need to reveal these and figure out what's where. So first up, Shroud of 2 clues. You can't use this location's action ability unless another card explicitly allows you to do so. As an action, evade. Choose and reveal a copy of Nyarlathotep from your hand and attempt to evade it as if you were at your location using lore instead of agility. If you succeed, add that copy of Nyarlathotep to the victory display. If you fail, Nyarlathotep attacks you and is shuffled into the encounter deck. Great. If all of these use lore tests, then flipping the High Priestess 2 doomed me in the last upgrades video. Action 4, though, we are going to investigate it even to try to pull the clues off. That's the second tentacle I've pulled this scenario, and I've lost count of how many skill tests I've failed in this scenario. This is going swimmingly, no? Right, Luke's turn. He's going to start by exhausting Pathfinder to move up to the North Tower, and we'll see what's here. Forsaken Tower of Primeval Light. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Same clause as on the Tower of Infinite Truth, but this time the action ability is choose and reveal a copy of Nyarlathotep from your hand and test Will X, where X is Nyarlathotep's printed health. If you succeed, add that copy of Nyarlathotep to the victory display. If you fail, Nyarlathotep attacks you and is shuffled into the deck. Action 2, Luke's going to draw a card, so Luke will draw. Another open gate, which is not helpful at all. Action 3, Luke will draw another card, so he will draw. Another Pathfinder, also not helpful. That'll do it for Luke. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play, but once again, we're back to the situation where we're running out of doom. We'll flip all of those over. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Luke gains 1 resource, goes to 7. Jenny will gain 2 and go to 10. 2 cards from Forced Learning for Luke. First up, he will find. I've got a plan. 3 costs to play. Lore, combat, and commit. Fight using lore. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each card. Clue you have to a max of 3. Or Shriveling, which we saw earlier, but I think this time we're going to keep... I'm going to keep I've got a plan because I want more icon commits. Jenny will draw. You owe me 1. 0 cost to play. Lore, combat, agility on commit. Look at another investigator's hand. You may play a non-weakness card in that investigator's hand under your control. If you do, you and that investigator each draw one card. Mythos phase, fourth doom on the agenda. Luke will draw. Another acolyte, which is going to go to an empty location. We'll put it at the south tower with a doom on it. Jenny will draw. Dreamer's Curse. We saw this earlier. Jenny right now is down 2. And I'm going to commit you owe me 1 just to get up 1. A 0 is all clear. Okay, heading into our last investigation phase, let's set the scene. We have 7 actions to find 3 copies of Nyarlathotep, find the cards we need to activate the abilities on there, and then be able to pass 3 tests to attack the copies of Nyarlathotep. Raise your hand in the comment section if you think that sounds like a completely ridiculous thing to be able to do in 1 turn. So do I. But I guess the question is, do I even play it out at this point, or do we just call it at this point and go straight to advancing the agenda? Because that's basically where this is going to end up. I think, honestly, we're just going to go straight to advancing the agenda, because I don't think anything we can do is really going to impact the board. I mean, it might be just drawing cards at this point and hoping. At this point, we're just drawing cards and hoping for something to happen. So I mean, let's see if we can at least find a copy of Nyarlathotep. So let's go down to Luke, and we'll go down to his play area. Unfortunately, finding a copy of Nyarlathotep is going to amount to Luke digging frantically for a way to get clues. So action 1, he'll try it. He will draw. Deduction, which is mostly garbage at this point, but why not? Action 2 will investigate at even. Okay, so we do get the clues off the location. One of which we'll spend for action 3 to look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. And add anything hidden. Which, of course, we end up with a Law of Igoroth that says we can't commit cards to skill tests with an odd number of total skill icons on them. Action, discard a player card with an even number of total skill icons from your hand to discard this from your hand. The Acolyte and the Wizard of the Order both go away, at least. That'll do it for Luke, and that'll move over to Jenny and see what she can do with no cards in hand. Action 1, Jenny will draw a card. She will draw. Vicious Blow. This would have been much more useful much earlier. Action 2, she'll do it again. She will draw. Quick Thinking also would have been useful earlier. Action 3, she'll run the draw back. She will draw. You handle this one. Action 4, once again, she will draw. Arcane Studies. This would have been useful a lot earlier. Skill Dump. It's basically a lower version of Arcane Studies that we saw with Luke earlier. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Acolyte does nothing. So we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase and for scenario resolution, to the shock of probably no one. Luke gains 1 resource and goes to 8. Jenny gains 2 and goes to 12. Two cards for Luke. We are going to do this by the book. First up, another Read the Signs level 2, which we saw earlier, or Sword Cane. Pretending that I have a snowball's chance in hell of winning this scenario, I would keep Read the Signs here. Jenny will draw. Another Vicious Blow. Once again, way too late to the party, and Jenny is at max hand size, because remember that I haven't been paying attention to Deeper Slumber, but Jenny's also been jazz hands for most of the scenario. Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda to the surprise of probably no one, and I think we can guess what's going to happen here. A Dream Devoured. Enough playing with you. I will have what is owed to me. You think you can simply venture into this land of dreams with no consequence? With impunity? With no spilt blood? Who are you to partake of such fantasy? To intrude on the dreams of others like a parasite? To devour those dreams like they are yours to enjoy? Out with you! I shall rend your mind from your skull as one skins a cat. Look, see? I am cracking open your skull and pouring out your you. And now I am filling it with me. You are no longer. Did you really think there would be any other result? Out with you now. Begone! Each investigator is defeated and driven insane. To the shock of, well, not yours truly, the way this scenario is gone. So, we'll make some notes in the log. And there should be a no resolution because each investigator was defeated, right? Yes. Okay, so let's find that.
If no resolution was reached because each investigator was defeated, you startle awake, riveted and dazed by the magnitude of the dream that held your attention for so long, and yet, when you try to recall any of it, you remember very little. It is all a haze, like distant memories from decades ago. Just the hint of the dream remains: a black castle, a ship sailing through space, a staircase, a black cat. The only thing you remember is a voice in your head, a fundamental truth of the universe that you cannot shake from your memory. It speaks to you, even now, as you tremble under the hospital sheets. Your dreams are mine! In your campaign log, record Nyarlathotep's invasion has begun. If you're playing the Dream Quest as a 4-part campaign, the investigators lose the campaign. If you're playing the Dream Quest and the Web of Dreams as an interconnected 8-part campaign, and you have not yet played Scenario 4B, Weaver of the Cosmos, proceed to that scenario. And you have already played Scenario 4B, Weaver of the Cosmos, proceed instead to Epilogue, found in the rules insert for Weaver of the Cosmos.
We will be heading to Scenario 4B, Weaver of the Cosmos, tomorrow. Hopefully Sister Mary and Trish will have a little better luck than Jenny and Luke did in this scenario. When a Chaos Token goes flying during the scenario, you know it's not been a good one. But that will do it for this playthrough of Where the Gods Dwell. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're going to finish the Waking side of the campaign as Sister Mary and Trish come face to face with the Weaver of the Cosmos. Later this week, we'll also have the scenario out, or the campaign outro, just to close the book on the spring campaign. Then Wednesday, we're stepping back into our background playthrough of Mag 23 Guadalcanal. As for next week, we're going to debut a new hockey game on the channel as we lead off June with a playthrough of Inside the Crease Hockey. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.